Hey everyone, it's Adrian from the Pageant Project, and my special guest for tonight is Chantel Kaur, who is a Miss Grand Australia National Finalist. Chantel, hello, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on here, Adrian.
It's a pleasure. I forgot to say how much I love your background. Pink.
Thank
Is
you.
it a background or is it just a wall?
It's actually my room's wall. It's still pink, and I do think I've grown out of it, but at the same time, I feel like Barbie. I feel so fabulous waking up just to see pink walls.
I was Instagram stalking you as I do. Did I read somewhere that pink is your favorite color?
Yes, it is my favorite color, hence the pink wall.
Do you think pink is a color that, I mean, stereotypically it's like girls' favorite color, but do you think it's a color that people grow out of? Because I seem to know a lot of pageant girls who are by no means like teenagers, they're like young adults or adults, and they still love pink. So do you think you'll ever grow out of pink, or it's here to stay?
Well, I don't think I'll personally grow out of it, but I like to tell myself I will because I'll walk into work and I'll have like a pink case, a pink water bottle, and I work in the legal field. So I kind of just it's like watching Legally Blonde, but
I was going to say, please tell me you don't have a little dog that goes along around with you.
I don't. But if I did, I would be a very happy young lady. I wish I had a little dog.
Please don't. You just be a walking stereotype. But hey, you do you, whatever makes you happy. Now, before we get started, I mentioned that I was going to get you to pronounce your name correctly because it's a point of pride for me. Chantel is one of the names you go by, but would you like to pronounce your name properly for us so that people can actually give it a go? I butchered it, which is why I'm going with Chantel. I can't say it, but would you like to pronounce it properly for the guys watching?
Well, thank you so much for considering it, Adrian. My name is pronounced Chanchal, and I go by Chantal for convenience, but it really does mean a lot to me when someone puts that effort in. And you're one of the few
Mm.
people that have said, I really want to get it right. I want to understand your name. And that's one of the things that, filled me with pride. I'm like, this is what Australians are supposed to be, this is who we are. We put that effort in and we want that mateship with people. We want to understand them. So thank you for that.
Oh, that's the least I can do. And then you mentioned that you have a nickname, I guess, that you go by. You said, was it Preet?
Yes, yes, that's
Now
correct. So,
that you'll have to tell me how that works because normally with Australians, it's like if you're Anthony, you're Tony or Ant. But how does it go from Chunchil to Preet?
so Preet is actually my middle name. So my full name is
Oh,
Chanchal Kaur, and Preet is the name that people very close to me know. So you've just exposed my secret name to
oh, there you go.
everyone that's watching this.
Well, there you go. You do know that in pageant world, it's very common for the girls to use their whole name because it makes them seem like it's like a royalty thing. A lot of the girls will actually put their middle names even in say in their Instagram handles. So I feel that it won't be a secret too long. Let's put it that way.
So I'm missing out on my royal name, is what I'm hearing. I should put it in everywhere.
Well, let's say it would be good luck. Let's start with the easy question. How did you get involved in the crazy world of pageantry to begin with?
So I got involved in pageantry in a very, I suppose, bizarre way. I'm Punjabi, which is a particular type of Indian, and we have this cultural festival, and it's a bit like a pageant, and it's called Tiyan da Mela, which means the fair of the sisters, so the sisterhood fair,
Mhm.
and essentially there was a bit of a pageant there where a girl would introduce herself in the language. So she would speak Punjabi, she would show off the culture. And I always wanted to do that. I wanted to prove that I was really connected to my roots, which I wasn't. But I wanted to feel and embrace that cultural identity. So I did that. And it gave me the experience of a pageant, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and after that, the first pageant I did prior to Miss Grand, I might have entered it as a bit of a joke. I didn't think they would pick me because I said, I'll give it a go. They're not going to pick me. I'm the brown girl from next door. They're not interested in that. They want blonde hair, blue eyes. Entered the pageant, got through, and I thought, well, might as well see it through. And after that, I decided to do Miss Grand because I guess pageantry is something I really want to explore, and it makes good leaders. It
Mm,
made me discover Shushmita Sen, Laura Dutta. These are very prominent Indian women in pageantry. And they taught me that women in pageants are intelligent, powerful, and it's a platform. It's not about the crown because if you win the title, you just have a plastic crown. What are you
yeah.
going to do with it? So I decided, yeah, I'm going to use that platform. I'm going to take it up, and I am going to change the world eventually.
Good for you. I will say India has a huge, I don't know if it's a huge pageant history, but they obviously are very big into pageantry. So, and I've always wondered why. And I'm just curious, do you have any inkling or understanding as to why pageantry is such a big thing in India?
I'm, to be frank, I have no idea, but I've noticed that pageantry in India is very different to pageantry in Australia in the sense that it is very competitive to
Mm,
the extent that their pageant days here, it's just a few days. There, it'll be a month just for your national pageant. And we don't have a talent round in Miss Grand here, but in India, you'll have things like talent, you'll have your native costume. So
mhm,
if you're from India, but not everyone's wearing, I guess, Indian clothes. If you're Punjabi, you'll be wearing a salwar or like a patiala suit, which is a type of outfit. And I would love for Australia to do that. I mean,
mm,
imagine, because of how multicultural we are, imagine going to a pageant and then having all the girls dress up as, you know, their heritage or someone from their ancestry. So I would show up in a langa. Someone could show up in a kimono, and it would be so
mm.
beautiful. So yeah, I guess I kind of went off the rails with the question you asked, but
No,
in short, I don't know.
no, I'm fascinated by all these. I think you're not that you are. Well, I mean, you are Indian. I'm assuming Punjabi, but obviously you're living in Australia. But I don't think I've actually interviewed, and I'm racking my brain because I'm actually your interview number 200, literally. But I've interviewed probably 100 people before you, so I've done a lot of these interviews, and I'm racking my brain, and I don't think I've interviewed anyone from India or certainly an Indian pageant queen. So all these, it's very interesting to me because you bring up a lot of these names are different. For example, I assume it's costumes or the way like traditional attire, and I can't say that I know what any of them look like. I mean, can you give us? I mean, I know what a kimono is, for example, but with the other ones, can you give us some example of maybe the costumes that you wear or people in your culture will wear on a I don't know a special basis, a daily basis, because it's not something I've had much exposure to.
So I mean that's something that I like to promote on my Instagram as well. You'll see me dress up in my ethnic wear. There are different types. So there's a langa. The langa
Hmm.
is essentially a long flowy skirt and it's paired with a crop top, but it's a heavily embellished crop top. So it's quite beautiful. And then of course you have things like a sari, and you have a salwar, which is a long top with these embellished pants. So you have quite a vast variety. And I have contemplated wearing something ethnic to Miss Grant. So
Mm.
maybe I will. Just for you, Adrian. Perhaps I'll show up in something Indian.
Let me bring up your Instagram feed here because I think it's better. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So just let me know. I mean that I think this must be a newish post. Yeah, 1 hour ago. That I mean I don't know what that is, but that looks stunning.
Well,
But direct me.
that's designed by an Indian. That's designed by, I think she's half Indian. And she creates pieces from, she essentially recycles clothing. So she's all
Wow.
about sustainability, makes her own pieces, and she's contacted villages in India to create pieces, yeah, all these outfits for her. So yeah, there's a bit of background about that as well.
It's a beautiful color. And now that I'm actually reading the post, I've heard of Lakshmi B before. I can't remember from where, but that name is familiar. Are there any other outfits you could point us to? I'm just going to scroll
So
down.
yeah, keep going. So the one just above me wearing my glasses, that one, yes. So that is called a lenga. Um, as I mentioned, it's the long flowy skirt with the crop top.
Hmm.
Um, so it's quite it's fun, it's flirty. It's not as traditional as a sari would be.
Hmm.
Um, but that's one of the more toned down ones. If you keep scrolling, I can show you a very extravagant one.
We like extravagant. We're in pageantry after all.
Yes. So there we are at the pink. Just scroll. Yeah. So that's another langa. Very, very elaborate, very traditional Indian colors, typically bridal colors, a bright
Mm,
pinks, maroons, reds. And yeah, I think that they're absolutely beautiful. And when I was younger, I steered clear of anything that seemed too Indian because I didn't see anyone else at school embrace it. There was nobody like me. And pageantry has actually helped me embrace my Indian identity because I ran away from it most of my life because I wanted to be like the other girls. I wanted to feel
mm,
that sense of belonging. Um, but then I came to realize that I stand out for a reason, and perhaps I should create that sense of belonging for others like me. If it's not
mm.
there, then it's time someone stood up. And yeah, your girl is standing up now.
Yeah, I can really resonate with that. Obviously, being Asian, but I was born and bred here, so in every way I'm Australian. But I don't know, resent is the right word. Maybe it was the same for you. Or I certainly wasn't proud of my Chinese heritage, and you'd kind of want to do everything you could to fit in. And I always, because a lot of my friends, other Asian friends, they would only hang around in their own ethnic group, so with other Asians, which I didn't think was right. So I made a very big point of not doing that. But it's been sort of a growth journey for myself to sort of embrace the fact that, well, I mean, I am Australian, but I'm certainly not, blonde haired, brown eyed, or anything like that. Has that been I mean, you mentioned pageantry helped with that, but has that been an ongoing journey for yourself as well?
I think it's something that I guess till this day I still struggle with.
Mm,
And the reason pageantry assisted with it was because I was convinced that I was not beautiful simply because I was not Anglo-Saxon. And it was something that had been so ingrained into me in high school, especially when you have friends that are all Anglo and they make certain remarks. Some of the remarks I've heard is, "You'd be beautiful if you were white. Can I try putting my foundation on you? I'd love to see you with blue eyes." And it kind of just reinforced the idea that, wow, I would be beautiful if I was white, but because I'm not beautiful, and no one's ever going to think that I'm enough. And when I discovered pageantry, I found that the title holders happened to be like Indian. And that's what shocked me. I thought, that doesn't make sense. I've been told I'm not beautiful because I'm Indian, but so many Indian women win Miss World, they win Miss Universe. That doesn't add up. And that's one of the ways that pageantry assisted me. It made me realize that perhaps I was in the wrong environment. I was so surrounded by people that were convinced or that were convincing me I wasn't enough. I believed this lie. And
mm,
I guess sometimes I do think about it now because when we look at the media, um, think about the current census first. You know, the current census that we've just had has revealed that half of Australians are either born overseas or their parents are born overseas, and Indians are the third largest ethnic group in Australia. So when you think about it and then you watch television, you think, wait, that doesn't make sense. If Indians are the third largest, why don't I
Mhm.
see them on television? Why don't I see them in the modeling industry? That doesn't make sense. And that's when I get a bit pulled back because I think, are we still not good enough? Are we still
Yeah.
not? And I'm sure it's something you've experienced as well. And a
Mm.
lot of people of color, it's a journey that we're going to be facing for a very long time, and things are changing, which is great. It's absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. But it's still that journey, and it can be painful, but it's a lot easier when you've got someone there and you've got people you can relate to, and you've got allies. I found that in Miss Grand, in comparison to my previous pageant, the girls are a lot more supportive. I've actually sat down with one of them and I've spoken about this, and I said, "Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for acknowledging this, um, because you've made yourself an ally, and I feel seen. I feel heard, and it goes a long way." When we talk about things like white privilege, it's not. We're not
Mhm.
blaming anyone. I'm not blaming you because you're Anglo-Saxon. I'm saying you have opportunities and you have these chances that I won't
Mm.
get because of my name and the color of my skin. Um, but I would say I'm very grateful for the girls that I've met because a lot of them have decided that they would be my sister, they will stand by me, and they are not going to stand for, you know, any stereotypes, discrimination, or any bias or prejudice against me. So that's, you know, that's the Australian
Mm.
sisterhood.
Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that, and I've worked fairly closely with the Grand Australia system before, so that doesn't surprise me. And I would hope that all of the girls would be fully supportive of whoever wins on the night. I mean, I completely resonate with your journey, and I don't think I've really talked about this much in the 200 or previous interviews that I've done. But I remember when I was probably just coming out of school, so after my first full time job when I had money and I was stupid, you know, when you're about early 20s, and I decided I wanted to dye my hair blonde. Actually, I initially wanted to dye my hair blue,
Other
but they couldn't
pictures?
go blue. No, I don't have pictures of that, but I do have photos of my hair long, like halfway down my back long, and blonde. And I remember one time looking up blue contact lenses because I didn't feel like it was I hated myself, but it's like you said, I just felt like I'd be more accepted somehow, or I would be better or more if I had blonde hair and blue eyes. And even saying that now, it sounds stupid, but I think it's very powerful how the subconscious works. So it's what you said. So if young people are watching TV, although maybe it's not so much TV these days, maybe it's more YouTube. Maybe that's a good thing because it's more diverse. But if you're watching TV and all you see is Anglo-Saxon, 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 then subconsciously as a child, you do begin to think, oh, there's something wrong with me because I don't look like them and they're rich and famous. So obviously to be rich and famous, I'm going to have to become like them. I don't know, is that similar to your journey at all?
I would definitely say that is exactly how I felt. And like I mentioned, it's a journey that I'm still going on. I still
Mhm.
don't see myself represented. And that's another thing. Something that we really need to think of, Adrian, is are we being represented or are we being marketed? Because if we're being
Mm.
represented, it would be accurate to whatever the demographic is.
Yeah.
Mm. So, yeah, I would definitely say sometimes when I see certain brands or certain agencies promote something, it's in my mind, it's, oh, the reason it's not you is because you're a woman of color and you're a woman of color that they can't use as a token or they already have a token. so they don't need you.
Pretty offensive, isn't it? Being the token.
It is, and I suppose it's a discussion I've had with other individuals as well, and they've said, well, isn't it better to have some representation than none at all? But I think that mentality is something that we need to shift away from.
Mm.
We shouldn't be happy and say, oh, there's one person of color, that's great, but they're an obvious token. And yes, it's great that they're there, but it's not great that they're being utilized. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, a lot of problematic things, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to fix them and change them.
Yeah. I mean, some is better than none, yes, but I'd hardly call it an ideal solution. And the idea that someone would be hired simply to fill a quota, I find that quite offensive. Whether you're talking about people of color versus Anglo-Saxon or men versus women, I find the ideas of having to fit certain numbers and, oh, you only got hired because you're a woman of color. It's just like, okay, maybe that's better than nothing, but I still find it like not treating people like people. Like you just, oh, you fit all these, you fit all the check boxes for the minority that we need. So let's get you in. I'm like, that's a bit offensive, but
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too deeply into it. I have no idea.
No, not at all. I think your thought process is, you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on, Adrian.
Well, it's probably not too well, let's move on from that. We could have a very long and detailed discussion about that. But I mean, I do love talking about, I love it whenever in pageantry we can actually talk about issues and maybe propose real solutions to real problems. Because I find very often we like to throw terms about, but they don't actually mean anything. Whereas I like to see like real concrete difference. But I mean, look, we're coming up to Miss Grand in 2 days. What day is it today? What day
Today's
is it today? It's
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It's been a long week.
Yeah,
So you guys are starting on Friday, right?
that's correct.
Okay. So, second pageant experience, how are you feeling? Are there any nerves with 48 hours to go, or you just super excited?
I am nervous and excited. Yeah, just a lot of emotions at once. But I also can't wait to eat something really unhealthy after the pageant. So
What are you
I'm
going?
so excited.
What's the first thing you're going to eat after the pageant?
I have really been craving pasta, but not just your normal pasta. I want a kilo of cheese on it. People underestimate how much I can eat. I I will verse you in any like eating competition. We could anytime, anywhere. just just call me there.
You're sounding slightly hangry now. Have you been deprived? I'll take you on anywhere. I'll eat a kilo of cheese. I'll eat you under the table. Come on, let's just like, whoa, chill. It's okay. Calm down. You realize that if you're lucky enough on Saturday night to have the crown place on your head, they're probably not going to want the first thing you do to go and eat a kilo of cheese, though, right?
Oh, yes, but I want to say I've been dieting, but I would be lying. I have not. I just haven't been eating as, I guess, crazy as I usually do. No kilo of cheese, so yeah.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a pageant interview if we didn't talk about foods. So, what sort of foods do you love?
Oh, I have a huge sweet tooth. I
Mhm.
love anything chocolate, anything covered, drenched, or filled with chocolate. I absolutely love. I think chocolate is divine. Um, but I've also been craving things like hot pots and like a samosa, which doesn't make sense because I don't really eat a lot of Indian foods, even though I'm Indian, but I really want like that fried, unhealthy samosa. and I just want it covered with tamarind sauce and mint sauce, and I want butter chicken, and I want coconut rice, and just everything from Asia. Just grab it and give it to me. That's what I want.
And talking to you, I suddenly have a craving for a naan stuffed with cheese.
Oh,
There's an Indian restaurant like 5 minutes up the road from me, and they just do a naan stuffed with cheese, and I'm sure it's unhealthy for you. You know, they like to market it as being it's vegetarian, it's healthy for you. I'm like, guys, it might be vegetarian, but it ain't healthy. But it's just kind of like, when you bite into it and it's hot and it's just come out of the tandoor oven and there's that stringy cheese and yeah. What have you
perfection.
done? I'm now hungry. Um, you talked about chocolate, so I mean, what like churros, donuts? Is it sounds like everything's on the cards.
Everything. Every morning for breakfast, I love oatmeal and I'll have it with blueberries and cacao powder. And then I'll
Oh yeah,
throw in bits of dark chocolate because I'm like, is it really unhealthy? It's dark chocolate. I know that it's marketed to be healthy,
you,
and you know it's not, but it's okay.
you're reminding me of a conversation I had with one of my tennis students back when I was coaching tennis. And you know how children will sometimes say things they're not really supposed to say, especially about their parents, and you go, "Oh." Um, he said, "Oh yeah, my mum drinks lots of red wine because she says it's healthy for her." And I'm like, "Okay, we have to have a conversation about this because they market it as red wine's full of antioxidants. It's like yeah, but there's other ways of getting antioxidants that don't involve imbibing lots and lots of alcohol, and
Yeah,
it'd probably be healthier for you. But you got to tell yourself whatever you got to tell yourself. But the cacao powder is because I was a raw foodist, so a lot of it was cacao and things like that. That's not sweet at all though. That's actually pretty bitter, and you like the taste of that.
I love the richness of it.
Mm,
That's probably why I really enjoy chocolate. It's got such a heavy flavor and it's so rich in that cocoa bean flavor, unless you're
mm.
going for a very milky chocolate. But yeah, just I could eat cacao nibs and I'd be fine. I'd be fine.
Wow. You really are a chocolate like connoisseur if you can eat the cacao nibs. I used to chew on those like it was called a raw sort of trail mix, cacao nibs, nuts and maybe some dried fruit, but most people couldn't stomach it because it was too bitter. But so all right, so pageant's over. Why don't you devise some sort of menu as to what you're going to eat? So you already said you wanted pasta and a kilo of cheese. That's like the appetizer. So
Um,
what are we going to have for mains? Or what are we going to have for dessert or beverage?
oh, okay. Oh, maybe for mains, I would like to go to one of those restaurants I think it's in Burwood,
Mm.
and you can go make your own hot pot. Absolutely, they're amazing. So that's going to be my main. I'm going to just grab everything, pop it in the pot, and then after that, I I've always wanted to try a corn dog. I've seen that they're popping up now in Australia. I didn't see them before, so maybe I'll get a corn dog. I'll just have it as a snack because it's not an actual meal. Um, and then for dessert, we will have a mud cake from anywhere, the closest cake I can
A
find.
mud cake
You know,
from anywhere.
I this may sound really weird and perhaps disgusting, but I think that the mud cake from Coles or Woolworths, the $5 that cake, it's amazing. I don't know why people don't like it. It's a vibe. For a lack of a better term, it's a vibe.
I'm sad to say I'm actually in agreement with you, but I wish I wasn't. There have been a number of times, like late on Friday night, and you've had a long week, you've been stressed out, and you just need to eat something sweet. And you go to Woolworths, and there's like the $5, whatever it is. I think it might be $10. I don't know where you're getting yours from, but
Oh,
the like a $10 like cheap chocolate mud cake, and it's actually it's not bad. I mean, you regret life when you're halfway through it, but it's not actually as bad as you might think.
hmm.
Um, so okay, I mean, are you going to be able to fit into this after you've had your post pageant binge? Because somehow I don't think so.
I'm Yeah, I probably won't be able to fit into there. I'm a bit concerned I might not fit into my evening gown because I say I'm gonna like I say I'm eating healthy, but eating healthy means portion control. So instead, I'll eat a lot, but I'll say it's eating healthy. I could eat 2 bags of carrots and hummus with it in between meals, and I'd be like, oh, it's healthy. It's just 2 kilos of carrots with hummus. It's healthy. So, so I should probably work on that.
I think someone's been lying to herself, but it's okay. I mean, look, if you had just eaten the carrots, I'd agree with you. But the fact that there's a hummus in there, because I'm mad about hummus. A hummus makes anything taste good. You could probably put a shoe in hummus and you'd be able to eat it. So,
Yeah,
although it's probably healthier than eating a mud cake, but I mean, still.
not the best, but yeah. It's a good indulgence. You don't feel guilty. Mud cake, after the first slice, because I don't know who only has one slice.
You
Start
bother
to
slicing it up? I thought you were just going to
oh,
pick it
uh,
up. I
yeah.
mean, when you're eating, especially when you're eating it by yourself, you don't need to share. So, I mean,
There was a really funny quote I read online. One of those Tumblr quotes, and it said, "Now that I'm finally an adult, I can buy a cake and I can eat it all
mm,
by myself." And then
yeah.
it said, "Update, I've gotten halfway through it, and now I've come to the realization as to why my parents never let
Yeah.
me eat an entire cake." So,
Yep.
yeah, it reminds me of one of those posts.
It's true though. It's the same when you're trying to eat a whole tub of ice cream. Like the first couple of times you do it, like you think, oh, it's awesome. But you
Yeah.
get halfway through it and you're like, okay, it probably wasn't the best idea, and I'll never do this again.
I can't really do that with ice cream. Unless it's an ice cream cake, I just ice cream doesn't have that energy for me yet. Perhaps later on. I haven't matured yet, Adrian. Once I,
No, no, I think it's the other way around. If you're talking about savory and you're talking about cacao and dark chocolate, you've definitely matured. Um, oh, we've got someone saying, I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's saying you. And Ralph, who is watching over from the United States, has said, good morning, Adrian and Chunchil. So
oh,
there you go.
yeah, it's nighttime here, but good morning to you wherever you are. I hope it's nice and sunny because Sydney has not been the most pleasant.
You have a talent for understatement right there. I mean, if you'd gone out any time in the previous, well, not so much today, but on Monday or whenever it was, you would have come back looking like a drowned rat. It's terrible.
Well,
Uh, well, we've talked a lot about this interview has gone from really serious conversations, and I feel like then we swerved to like 10 minutes of just binging about food. So let's switch back to the pageant for a sec, which we mentioned. It's coming up on Friday, and then you compete on Saturday. I mean, you're early on in your pageant career. Do you have any expectations as to how you'd like to place, or how you'd like to perform, or you're just going in there, focusing on trying to do your best?
I would say I am going in there with the mindset that I want to do the best that I can do because then, irrespective of what the result is, I have that self satisfaction. Um, but at the same time, realistically, a lot of us know where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are. So I would want my strength to be wherever I think it is. I don't want that lack of self awareness.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know where I could place, but I do know what my capabilities are, and I do know what my weaknesses are. But I guess we'll see. It's exciting, and I can't wait.
Well, I would say that your weaknesses are clearly chocolate, but I mean, in terms of the pageant, is there any particular part that you're most looking forward to?
I I think I might enjoy the interview because
Mhm.
um, one of the interviewers, she mentioned that she'll be throwing out a really difficult question um, that'll just throw us off. And I was like, you know what? Looking forward to that. I was like, I'm looking forward to that. So I guess that's what I'm excited about.
I was going to move on to life outside pageants. So, what you do in your daily life. And let me bring up the title here. Just before I before I ask you about it, you strike me. Tell me how wildly off base I am. You strike me as being intellectual. I mean, you're a lawyer and competitive. How intellectual and how competitive are you? That's the vibe I'm getting.
Um, I that's something I don't think I would be able to assess myself on. I consider myself as the girl next door. You're just, just your friendly girl next door. Nothing, not ridiculously intelligent or competitive. She's just nice, just nice to to go out with. That's how I see myself. I guess let's wait for the Miss Grand results and we can see how I've been assessed there.
Okay. I will say it's a sign of intelligence to not think of yourself as particularly intelligent. So there is that. We will find out, won't we? But in terms of your life outside of pageants, so what do you do when you're not eating $5 mud cakes and not competing for a pageant? So outside of those two hobbies of yours, what do you do to keep yourself busy or to relax?
So what I do, oh, so that's not really a career question, but what
Tell
I
us about your
predominantly do.
career as well. Tell us about your career because I know that you spent a lot of time there and you've mentioned law. So tell us about that as well.
So I work in public liability law. I work for a corporation. So I guess in a sense, I'm the big bad guy. I'm the bad lawyer. I don't work for the little guy. I'm sorry. And a lot of my work is just dealing with public liability claims. So essentially, it's if you go into a store, you slip and you
Mm,
fall or you get injured, something happens to you, you would people would go sue the company. And then I work for the company to determine whether there is liability. I assess
yeah.
that. I determine what the law says. And then I make assessments on that and proceed accordingly. It's interesting to me, perhaps not to everyone else. And I suppose that I find it somewhat fulfilling, but I don't find as much purpose in it because
Mm,
I know that when I did law, I wanted to do it to help the little guy, but now I'm working for the big guy, which is kind of ironic. Um, but what I would be very passionate about is I really want to help develop legislation to assist protecting women, so specifically around domestic violence. I think we need better services in Australia. I don't think the ones that we have are sufficient. And I guess that draws into my purpose in the pageant now as well.
mm,
It's again, the pageant is a platform. The girls all have a different purpose. They can use it for anything that they like. And I suppose for me, it's I really want to create a somewhat of a sisterhood of these women that will come together so that we can formulate perhaps an organization or a business that caters towards assisting women that are going through anything in regards to abuse, domestic violence. And I know that there are all these little issues that aren't being addressed. When I used to work in court, I would find that a lot of women would come in, they would get an AVO, and then you would never see them again. And I would say, well, that doesn't make sense. They're missing the hearing.
mm,
And one of the tragic things that I remember someone saying to me was, "Oh, that's quite common." And I said, "That doesn't make sense. Why would they miss it, or why would they drop it?" And they said, "Well, it's because an AVO at the end of the day doesn't physically restrain or
yeah.
prevent someone from hurting them. It's just a piece of paper." And that's one of the things that really made me think, yeah, I want to make a difference. We are not doing enough. And Miss Grand Australia is their stop. the war and violence. And I think a lot
Mm.
of people think, oh, yeah, stop the war and violence. That's probably for a third world country, or it's probably for, like the war that we have right now between Russia and
Yeah.
Ukraine. People don't think, oh, wait a minute, we have that in Australia. I
Mm.
think we need to be more mindful of our own nation first. We need to think, wait a minute, we have issues as well. We can't just say, oh, there are problems in other countries. No, no, no. There are problems on our home, um, on our soil, and we need to
Yeah.
resolve them. So, yeah, I guess my career is, even though it's not where I want it to be, I'm
Mhm.
still kind of developing myself so that I can go for what I really want and so I can fulfill
Yeah.
myself. Um, but when I'm not being as, I guess, boring and meaningful, I like to go to the gym, which I guess again is a bit boring. I used to be a cheerleader. That's
Okay.
fun. I used to be a cheerleader at university. So if anyone from ACU sees this, yep, ACU, the Cockatoos, I was level one. So, but I thought that was really fun. It had a sisterhood. We got to do some stunts, which is really cool. So, Adrian, if you ever need me to lift you up and flip you in the air, I've got you.
Are you sure you want to say that? Because I'm the sort of person, after I've had a couple of drinks, I might just take you up on it. The question when I have it, when it comes to cheerleading, are you one of the ones on the bottom? Like, is it called the base, or the one that is in the air getting chucked around like a rag doll?
Oh, I was a side base. In terms of hierarchy of importance, I was definitely not one of the important ones. Side base was the safest though. I did try flying once. It was fun, but at the same time, I thought, do I really want to break my neck? Perhaps not. And also, I don't have the balance. Like the women that are flyers, they know what they're doing. Those women are talented. They have the core
Mm.
stability. They're super women. Side base is your girl next door. So I'm happy being there.
I've interviewed a couple of pageant girls who were or are cheerleaders, and I think none of them have been game enough to be the one getting flung around in the air. I think some of them have tried it, but they've all just decided I'm too uncoordinated to be doing that. It's not worth it. It does look like fun, um, but it doesn't look easy by any stretch of the imagination. Chunchil, just before we go to the final 10, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for supporting you along your journey?
Oh, I have so many people I would want to thank. Well, I guess the first one would be my best friend, Bear. Who's supported me through my entire journey. My mother, because she's lovely. She's been supporting me, and some of my pageant sisters. I know that you interviewed Izzy. Izzy, I would want to say shout out to her because I am incapable of doing makeup. This is actually so if anyone's watching this, please give me harsh commentary on my makeup. If it's garbage, just tell me. I won't take it personally. Izzy helped me with my makeup. And
Mhm.
even though we're in a competition together, she would message me and say, hey, how are you going? Are you practicing your makeup? Do you need help? Your girl is a beginner. Miss Grand was the first time I did my makeup myself. So yeah, it's nice having girls like that there that are there to just say, hey, if you need help, I'm
Yeah,
happy to be here for you. But yeah, shout out to them and anyone that's helped me. Everybody is delightful. If you've ever helped me with anything in my pageant journey, I'm internally grateful for that. And yeah, hit me up anytime and say, do you remember the time I did this for you? Because I do, I definitely do.
now, you got one question before we go to the final 10 questions from Sheridan, who is currently a Miss Earth finalist for Australia and was first runner up. I can't remember when Sheridan, because of COVID, was it 2020 to Brittany Dixon anyway. So Sheridan is an established Australian pageant queen, and she's asked, "Is this your first pageant?" You mentioned it briefly before, but I'll let you answer, Sheridan.
Well, hi Sheridan. Lovely to, I guess, meet you. This is my second, I would say this is my second pageant. And yeah, but I'm still a beginner. I don't really know much of what I'm doing, but I'm getting there.
Okay, final 10 questions. Your turn. Question the first. What is your favorite word?
Divine. Divine is my favorite word.
What is your least favorite word?
Oh, that's a hard one. Um, Potential. I don't like hearing people say this had potential, so and so has potential. I want to I want to see it cultivated. So
Question three. In life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
new opportunities,
What turns you off?
prejudice,
Question five. What sound or noise do you love?
the sound of rain falling on a rooftop.
Would have had a lot of that this week. Um,
Oh, I like let me clarify. I like that sound when I am in bed, nice and warm. If I'm at work, I absolutely despise it. So there you go.
when I'm outside getting drenched with my umbrella that's broken, I don't like the sound of the rain. Yeah, I feel you on that one. What sound or noise do you hate?
Um, I'm not quite sure. Oh, a screeching car. You know, people at
Mm.
drag racing. Yeah, not for me.
Question seven. If you could have any superpower, what would you pick and why?
The ability to read minds, because as implied, you can read minds, and that's quite a powerful thing.
Thank you for explaining what the superpower to read minds means, just for the people playing along at home, if you didn't quite understand. The superpower to read minds, which means to read
I
minds.
think that's where you see the lawyer part come in, just a bit of sass right there.
You're like the maths teachers or science teachers who would explain a really complicated maths concept that you didn't understand in terms of another really complicated maths concept that no one understands. Like you said, you've been talking for 5 minutes. I'm no closer to understanding what you're talking about. But thank you for that. Um, Question eight: what job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
I'd love to be a politician, the Prime Minister of Australia.
Ooh, Sheridan, who you just replied to, also wants to go that way. So you're in good company there.
We should definitely.
Uh, you should have a chat with Sheridan's in Sydney now. In fact, Sheridan, if you're still watching, I think I just saw on your stories you got a new apartment. So congratulations. Welcome to Sydney. Question nine: what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh, I would say working in a shoe store because that was my first job and I did it for a very long time as a teenager. So I'm over that.
How smelly are people's feet?
I don't know. I think people, I don't know what people think it's like working in a shoe store, but no, no one's feet were being like, yeah, I don't know how to answer that, but I did have some weird I guess encounters. Somebody wanted me to try on a shoe so they could see how the shoe looked on someone else. I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah.
Moving along. Fi- Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, welcome to the land of peace. Everything's just perfect. It's a utopia.
Sounds good. Ralph here has said good luck, Chunchil, with a
Oh,
four-leaf clover. Thank
oh,
you for watching, Ralph. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for coming on. And we've talked about some very random topic, so it's good.
That's how you know it was a good interview. We had a good chat.
I want my cheese stuffed naan. But as I said, I'll keep you on the line for just a second whilst I hang up with the audience. Thanks to everyone for watching, whether it's live or on the replay, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.